After the 5 marked people were brought back to Obsidian Village, isolation shed number 2 was immediately put into use. Lu Chang and his people had taken only half a day to build it. It was located outside the Black Tide Purification Office, with some distance kept between it and the South Gate settlement area. The shed was not a simple wooden house. Instead, it was divided into 3 zones. The B-Series named Settling Zone. The R-Series Erasure Interruption Zone. The Unknown Mark Observation Zone. Aluo, Gaojun, Duli, Maliang, and Huangqi were arranged into the Unknown Mark Observation Zone. They had not yet been numbered. But residual recall marks remained on their bodies. Fang Jian and Ajan were responsible for the first round of stabilization. Bai Ji and Guan were responsible for contamination checks. Uncle Zhou was responsible for registering the withdrawal agreements. Before every person entered the shed, they had to complete 3 steps. Report their name. Report why they came. Report their withdrawal. Aluo stood in front of the wooden table with an awkward expression. He was still wary of Obsidian Village. But the recall mark on his body had only just been suppressed, and he knew he temporarily could not leave this place. Uncle Zhou asked, name. Aluo. Real name? Aluo was silent. Uncle Zhou did not urge him. Aluo gritted his teeth. Luo Xiang. Reason for coming. I wanted to join a major guild and was recommended for a special escort mission by Rat. Content of withdrawal. Aluo said in a low voice, I withdraw the consent given under the hidden recall clause. Uncle Zhou put brush to paper. Luo Xiang, alias Aluo. Accepted a special escort mission in search of guild advancement. Has withdrawn consent to the hidden recall clause. After the words fell, the recall mark on Aluo's body faded a little more. He clearly breathed a sigh of relief. When it was Gao Jun's turn, he reported quickly. Gao Jun. I owe equipment loans. I wanted to rely on a high-paying mission to repay the money. I withdraw the consent given under the hidden recall clause. After Uncle Zhou finished writing, he asked, who issued the equipment loan? Gao Jun's expression changed. You need to ask that too? Shen Luo sat beside them and said coldly, of course. The debt you owe may itself be part of the recruitment trap. Gao Jun froze. He had never thought about it that way. He had only felt that he was unlucky. He had lost a fight, owed equipment, been hounded by debt collectors, and therefore rushed to accept a high-paying mission. But what if the lender and the recruitment line had been connected from the beginning? Then his debt was not an accident. It was a road designed to push him into the old salt road. Gao Jun's face slowly went white. I don't know. Shen Luo said, it is fine if you do not know. Write down the lenders, interest rates, and collection times that you do know. Gao Jun nodded. He began to write. This was how Obsidian Village handled things now. They did not stop after saving people. They investigated why those people had reached that point. Debt. Medical costs. Searching for relatives. Guild advancement. Behind every opening, there might be a recruitment line. Duli's situation was the most special. She had not come for money nor for power. She had come to find her older brother. Her older brother, Du Hong, had disappeared 1 week earlier. The last place he appeared was near the old salt road. Rat had told her that the people behind the special escort mission had the ability to find Du Heng's whereabouts. So she came. While Uncle Zhou recorded her account, Duli kept gripping the corner of her clothes. If I do not go, will I never find him? Lin Yao stood beside her and said, not necessarily. Duli's eyes dimmed. Lin Yao continued, but if you go, you may disappear too. We will add Du Hong to the Old Salt Road missing persons list. You can provide his features. Du Li raised her head. You will really investigate? Lin Yao nodded. We will. Her tears fell all at once. His name is Du Hong. There is a long scar on his left hand. He used to be a shield fighter. He said he was going south to find a better team, and then he never came back. Uncle Zhou recorded everything. Du Hong, older brother of Du Li, shield fighter. Long scar on left hand. Missing near the Old Salt Road. Added to the Old Salt Road missing persons list. Du Li looked at that line of words, and her emotions steadied slightly. Because her brother was no longer only missing. His name had been written down. Ma Liang's case was relatively simple. He was an escort player. He had thought he was only escorting goods to the Old Salt Road, and had not expected to sign a hidden recall clause. Huang Qi was the most troublesome. He owed gambling debts and admitted that he knew the mission might have problems. But he still signed. Because he felt that no matter how bad it got, it would not be worse than being chased by the gambling house. After Shen Luo listened, he said directly, "You are not entirely a victim." Huang Qi lowered his head. I know. Lin Yao added, but that still should not make you be numbered. Huang Qi raised his head, his gaze complicated. He had originally thought Obsidian Village would scold him and say he deserved it. But they did not. Responsibility was divided more clearly than he had imagined. He had indeed been wrong. But his wrongdoing was not a reason for Luo Wentz to turn him into a living nameless soldier. After Isolation Shed No. 2 completed its first round of registration, a system prompt surfaced. Isolation Shed No. 2 is now officially operating. Contained, 5 Old Salt Road marked personnel. Functions: mark observation, recall weakening, withdrawal agreement records, name settling recitation training. Obsidian Village's resistance to precursor marks of the living nameless army has increased. This was good news. But the pressure was even greater now. The Black Tide Purification Office and Isolation Shed No. 2 were both beginning to run at full capacity. If there were truly more than 6 transformed people underground in the Old Salt Road, or even a full formation of 30 people, Obsidian Village would have to expand its handling capacity. Bai Ji made a suggestion. We need to train a second group of soothers. Jean froze. A second group? Bai Ji nodded. You and Fang Jian cannot sustain everyone. Although Luo, Gao Jun, and Du Li have only just arrived, once they stabilize, they can learn basic name reporting and withdrawal reminders. Luo immediately refused. Me? I am not stable myself. Jean looked at him. I used to be unstable too. Luo had no answer. Fang Jian said in a low voice, we are not asking you to save people. Only to learn how to wake up the person beside you. For example, when Gao Jun is being dragged away by the debt combat power mark, you call his name. Gao Jun looked at Luo. Luo was silent for a moment, then scratched his head. That, I can try. Du Li also said, I can help record the features of missing people. Uncle Zhou's eyes moved. You are willing? Du Li nodded. I am looking for my brother, so I know how missing people need to be recorded. Lin Yao looked at the people who had just been rescued. They were still very fragile. But they had already begun to shift from rescued people toward assistance. This was exactly the key to Obsidian Village's expanding order. Not everyone had to become a warrior. Some could settle names. Some could record the missing. Some could remind others to withdraw. Some could investigate debts. All of these could resist Luo Wentz's living nameless army. At dusk, Xin Wan sent a message from reality. You just weakened a batch of recall marks? Lin Yao looked at the message and was no longer surprised that she could observe it. He replied, saved 5. Song Yuan wrote back. 5 players on the reality side have shown abnormal synchronization decline. The family of one of them just reported that he kept repeating "I withdraw" in his sleep. Lin Yao's eyes shifted. Withdrawal of consent had produced an effect on the reality side as well. This was extremely important. Song Yuan sent another message. The second research group observed it too. They are now very sensitive to agreement withdrawal. Lin Yao sneered. Of course they were sensitive. If Obsidian Village could make people withdraw consent when risks had been hidden from them, then the entire second research group and Luo Wen's system of voluntary participation and risks borne by the participant would be torn open. That might frighten them more than simply saving people. Because it destroyed the cloak of legitimacy. Not merely the surface layer of contamination. Lin Yao replied, tell them that consent hidden in tiny print does not count as consent. Song Yuan did not respond for a long while. Then she wrote, I will write that down. Lin Yao put away his phone. Inside the game, the lamps of isolation shed number 2 lit up. Obsidian Village was establishing an entirely new countermeasure system. Not only name settling. Withdrawal too. Not only saving people who had already been contaminated, but also saving those who had been pushed toward contamination by agreements. In reality, the second research group's response came faster than Lin Yao had expected. At 11 that night, Song Yuan sent an urgent warning. The second research group has submitted a new procedural document. Topic: Statement on the irreversibility of high-risk synchronization agreements. Lin Yao frowned. Statement on irreversibility. As soon as he saw those words, he knew what the second research group wanted to do. Sure enough, Song Yuan sent a summary. Core points of the statement. 1. For those who have signed high-risk synchronization agreements, the right to withdraw should be subject to synchronization safety restrictions. 2. For those who have already entered the synchronization process, arbitrary withdrawal may cause higher contamination risk. 3. External order-type projections must not interfere with existing agreement procedures. 4. Cases that have already withdrawn require reassessment and recovery observation. The more Lin Yao read, the colder his eyes became. On the surface, this document was discussing safety. In reality, it was trying to block the opening Obsidian Village had just made. They did not say withdrawal was forbidden. They said withdrawal was subject to synchronization safety restrictions. They did not say they wanted to capture people. They said reassessment and recovery observation were required. The language was beautifully packaged. But the essence was the same. Pull people back into the experimental process. Lin Yao replied, they want to recover those 5 people? Song Yuan wrote, the reality side may contact the corresponding players. Especially those whose family reports, medical records, or debt records can be checked. Lin Yao immediately thought of Zhou Mian, Gao Jun, and Du Li. In the game, he had saved 5 people. But in reality, the physical bodies of those 5 players remained in the real world. If the second research group used real-world channels to contact them, the withdrawal Obsidian Village had established in the game could be broken again by real-world pressure. This was the trouble with a two-front battlefield. Saving people in the game meant protecting them in reality as well. Lin Yao asked, can you notify them? Song Yuan replied, I do not have all of their real identities. At present, I have only located 2 suspected matches. One has abnormal debt records. One has a missing relative report. Gao Jun and Du Li. Lin Yao thought for a moment. Can you send anonymous warnings to their families? Song Yuan wrote, Yes, but the risk is that the second research group may trace the source of the warning. Lin Yao answered, then used the tone of an official safety notice. Do not mention me. Song Yuan replied, I will handle it. A few minutes later, Song Yuan sent another message. One more thing. Someone inside the second research group suggested that since your order type projection can weaken recall marks, you should be required to cooperate with them in standardized withdrawal testing. Lin Yao laughed. There was no warmth in that laugh. They wanted to stop withdrawal on one hand, and test his withdrawal ability on the other. This was the second research group. They could always turn another person's rescue into their own research project. He replied, refused. Song Yuan wrote, I know. But they may bypass you and seek out the people you saved. Lin Yao looked at that sentence and made a decision in his heart. He needed to formally incorporate withdrawal of consent into Obsidian Village's system. Not as temporary handling. Not relying only on his on-site adjudication. But by establishing a register that could operate sustainably. He immediately logged into the game. It was already deep night in Obsidian Village. But the Black Tide Purification Office and Isolation Shed No. 2 were still lit. Lin Yao found Uncle Zhou. When Uncle Zhou saw him arrive late at night, he was not surprised. Did something happen in reality? Lin Yao nodded. The second research group wants to block withdrawal. Uncle Zhou frowned. Lin Yao briefly explained the situation. After hearing it, Uncle Zhou immediately understood the problem. Then we need a withdrawal register. That was exactly what Lin Yao meant. Since Luo Wentz and the second research group used agreements to bind people, Obsidian Village needed formal pages to record withdrawals. Not to release people from all responsibility, but to take out and identify the consent formed under concealment, inducement, misdirection, coercion, or insufficient disclosure. Which parts were valid? Which parts were invalid? Which parts could be withdrawn? After withdrawal, which parts still required partial responsibility? This required a system. Not a slogan. Uncle Zhou took out a new scroll. The cover was blank. Lin Yao thought for a while, then wrote 4 words on it. Contract Withdrawal Register. Uncle Zhou looked at the 4 words and nodded. More precise than a withdrawal register. It is not name withdrawal. It is contract withdrawal. Withdrawing wrong contracts, hidden contracts, and name-swallowing contracts. Lin Yao opened the first page. Contract Withdrawal Register. Purpose: to record the withdrawal of agreements formed under concealment, inducement, false disclosure, coercion, unclear risk, or responsibility shifting clauses. Principle: contract withdrawal does not equal absence of responsibility. After contract withdrawal, the party involved must still bear the responsibility of what they knowingly accepted. The inducing party, concealing party, and responsibility shifting party may not use the agreement to exempt themselves from responsibility. Applicable to high-risk synchronization agreements, black tide material transaction agreements, recall clauses, erasure clauses, and risk self-borne clauses. After the words fell, the new register did not immediately light up. It was as if it still lacked examples. Lin Yao moved the withdrawal records of the 5 people from the abandoned salt well yard into it. Luo Xiang withdraws the hidden recall clause. Gao Jun withdraws the hidden recall clause. Du Li withdraws the hidden recall clause. Ma Liang withdraws the hidden recall clause. Huang Qi withdraws the hidden recall clause. Then he added Zhou Mian's case. Zhou Mian. High-risk synchronization experiment agreement involving inducement through family medical expenses and failure to pay the second sum. Parts subject to further adjudication for withdrawal. Then Xiong Jian. High-risk synchronization agreement involving debt pressure and insufficient disclosure of contamination consequences. Parts subject to further adjudication for withdrawal. Then Fang Jian. Fang Jian. Transferred into the second research group. Not a valid voluntary agreement. Classified as invalid transfer. Finally, R04, stay. Stay. R-Series Recovery Unit. Suspected no valid voluntary consent. Erasure order invalid. After these examples entered the new register, a faint gray-white light finally lit on its cover. A system prompt surfaced. Obsidian Village has established a new register, Contract Withdrawal Register. Effect: can weaken the binding force of hidden clauses, recall clauses, and erasure clauses on individuals. Restriction: requires support from the individual, a witness, or clear evidence. Warning: the Contract Withdrawal Register will directly conflict with the reality-side high-risk synchronization agreement system. Reality projection may trigger strong observation reactions. When Uncle Zhou saw the last line, he said in a low voice, "The reality side will become more anxious." Lin Yao said, "They already are." After the Contract Withdrawal Register was established, the 5 marked people in isolation shed number 2 reacted at the same time. The recall marks on their bodies faded again. The B03 remnant scar on Zhou Mian's chest also faded slightly. As for Fang Jian, after seeing his own record, he did not speak for a long time. Not a valid voluntary agreement. Classified as invalid transfer. He looked at that line, and his eyes slowly reddened. So, I did not agree to become B11? Lin Yao said, "No." Fang Jian lowered his head. He had always thought that perhaps he had once agreed to something. That was why he had become that way. Now, the Contract Withdrawal Register had officially written it down: not valid voluntary consent, invalid transfer. That was equivalent to lifting a part of the wrong responsibility that had pressed on his heart. Zhan patted his back. "You are Fang Jian." Fang Jian nodded hard. In reality, Lin Yao's phone soon vibrated. Song Yuan sent only one sentence. "You established another new projection?" Lin Yao replied, "Contract Withdrawal Register." Song Yuan was silent for a long time. The second research group has just detected a decline in high-risk agreement binding fluctuations. They are extremely nervous now. Lin Yao looked at the message and replied, "Good." Song Yuan wrote, "You know this will make them want to meet you even more." Lin Yao replied, "I know." He put away his phone. Some conflicts could not be avoided. Once the Contract Withdrawal Register was established, Obsidian Village was no longer only resisting the black tide. It had also begun directly opposing the real-world systems that packaged black tide risks inside agreements. This was more troublesome than battle. But it was also more necessary. After the Contract Withdrawal Register was established, the old Salt Road operation entered a brief window. Luo Wence's first living military order had been blocked by Obsidian Village. The second batch of marked people had been intercepted. The Contract Withdrawal Register had weakened the hidden recall clauses. But Lin Yao knew Luo Wence would not wait for long. Before the L series completed its next upgrade, he needed to uncover the roster of the first batch of the living nameless army. The 13-name list provided by Rat was only part of the recruitment line. Among them, 5 had been intercepted, Zhou Mian had already been rescued, and Jiang Bai was suspected to be B09. But when the L series appeared in the distance, there had not been only 6 people. There had been at least a dozen figures. This meant the first batch of the living nameless army did not come only from Rat's intermediary line. There were other recruitment channels. Shen Luo checked accounts through the night. He spread out Rat's list, Zhou Mian's memories, He Jin's confession, the old Salt Road medicinal herb logistics, equipment loan records, and independent player camp disappearance records. Uncle Zhou sat across from him. The two men had completely different styles. Shen Luo checked accounts as if catching loopholes. Uncle Zhou kept accounts as if establishing order. But that night, the two coordinated unusually well. Shen Luo was responsible for finding abnormalities. Uncle Zhou was responsible for writing those abnormalities into traceable registers. On the day blood-stopping bind prices surged, 7 players disappeared around the Old Salt Road, Shen Luo said. Names? Uncle Zhou asked. Not complete. 3 IDs. Iron Sparrow, Pumpkin Blade, White Sand. Uncle Zhou immediately wrote them down. Real names unknown. Place them on the suspected list for now. Shen Luo turned another page. The equipment loan line does not only involve Gao Jun. 2 other people owed the same lender. IDs, Night Run, Zhou Sihai. Night Run has lost contact. Uncle Zhou recorded it. Night Run, suspected Old Salt Road recruit. Zhou Sihai, pending investigation. Bai Ji also brought medicinal herb clues. A healing-type player named Lan Yuan once purchased a large amount of clear heart grass. She may not have been captured. She may have been recruited in to serve as medical support. Lin Yao looked at Rat's list. Lan Yuan was indeed among the 13. If she was a healing-type player and had been brought underground by Luo Wen's, then she might have been forced to become part of the L-Series stabilization group. Or she might have participated voluntarily. They could not judge simply. At that moment, Fang Jian spoke. There was one voice in the L-Series that was different. Everyone looked at him. Fang Jian recalled the scene at the abandoned Saltwell yard. When they shouted marked personnel, return to ranks together, one person's ending sound was half a beat slower. It was not resistance. It was more like calibration. Bai Ji asked, healing type? Fang Jian shook his head. Not certain. But that person may not be an ordinary carrier. Lin Yao wrote down this clue. There is a suspected calibrator in the L-Series. Ending sound half a beat slow. Identity unknown. Name-settling reciters were very sensitive to sound. The fact that Fang Jian could hear this meant his ability was developing in a positive direction. Zhan also offered an observation. When the L-Series appeared, Luo and the others did not all react the same way. Gao Jun reacted the strongest. Dooley was being pulled, but she could still cry. Ma Liang was lighter. Huang Qi's reaction was like he wanted to follow, but was afraid. Shen Luo glanced at him. Your observation is very detailed now. Zhan was a little embarrassed. I just felt they were not in the same state. Lin Yao nodded. Very important. This meant the recall mark was connected to the depth of each person's need, debt, fear, and expectation. Luo Wentz was not using the same lock on everyone. He set different recall hooks according to each person's opening. For Gao Jun, it was debt. For Dooley, searching for family. For Luo, joining a team. For Huang Qi, gambling debts and avoidance. All of these might correspond to different functions in the L-Series. Lin Yao began creating a new table. L-Series candidate opening categories. Debt type, Gao Jun, Huang Qi, Night Run. Family search type, Dooley, suspected Du Hongline. Advancement type, Luo. Medical type, Zhou Mian. High synchronization type, Mo Yenshan. Medical support type, Lan Yuan. Unknown high-risk type, Han Qi, Song Yuan. After Uncle Zhou finished reading, he said, this is not a list. It is the enemy's method of catching people. Lin Yao nodded. Yes. What was truly frightening about Luo Wen's was not that he could contaminate people. It was that he knew how to catch their openings and push them step by step into contamination. If Obsidian Village only saved people at the final moment, it would always be half a step slow. They had to begin countering from the classification of openings. For debt types, investigate loans. For family search types, establish missing persons registers. For advancement types, provide non-black tied paths into teams. For medical types, trace payments and family members. For high synchronization types, provide focused protection. This was no longer simple combat. It was a social defense line. After Lin Yao voiced this idea, Uncle Zhou was silent for a moment. Then Obsidian Village needs more registers. Zhao Tai, who had been listening from the side, felt his scalp tingle. More registers? Uncle Zhou glanced at him. Otherwise, will you take your saber and chop debt? Zhao Tai opened his mouth. He could not refute it. Shen Luo laughed. I like that sentence. Lin Yao did not immediately establish new registers. Too many registers would also create burdens. But under the Contract Withdrawal Register, he added several subpages. Debt Inducement Page. Family Search Inducement Page. Advancement Inducement Page. Medical Inducement Page. High Synchronization Mark Page. This way, there was no need for new registers yet. They would first operate under the Contract Withdrawal Register. A system prompt surfaced. The Contract Withdrawal Register has expanded subpages. Ability to identify high-risk agreement inducement sources has increased. Obsidian Village's resistance to L-series recall hooks has increased. Just then, Rat was suddenly brought in. His face looked awful. After the erasure mark had activated earlier, his entire person seemed withered. But as soon as he entered, he said, I remembered Song Yuan. Lin Yao looked at him. Speak. Rat swallowed. He is not an ordinary player. What he asked me was not how to accept the mission. He asked whether there was a third-level entrance beneath the old Salt Road. Shen Luo's expression changed. A third level? Rat nodded. At the time, I thought he was asking nonsense. But now that I think about it, he may have known that there was more than a laboratory beneath the old Salt Road. Lin Yao asked, how did you answer? I said I didn't know. And then? Then he gave me money and told me that if I heard the terms Luo Wen's, sacrificial stone fragments, or living military command, I should contact him. The atmosphere in the room instantly changed. Song Yuan was indeed a third party. And he had already known about Luo Wen's, sacrificial stone fragments, and living military command. That meant there was an even deeper force watching behind the old Salt Road relay station. Rat said in a trembling voice, I did not contact him. Shen Luo said coldly, you only remembered this now? Rat said anxiously, I really forgot because I was scared. Lin Yao did not dwell on it. Contact method? Rat took out a small gray stone token. He gave me this. He said that if I crushed it, I could send a message. When Su Qingli saw the stone token, her expression changed slightly. This is not an ordinary message stone. There are life-concealing patterns on it. Life-concealing patterns? Used to hide the user's fate mark and source. Su Qingli's voice deepened. This is a method commonly used by hidden families. Lin Yao's gaze sharpened. The hidden family line had finally intervened. Hidden families of the world had been mentioned repeatedly earlier in the second season as beginning to surface. Now, Song Yuan might be one of those lines. He was not one of Luo Wen's people. Nor one of the Xin family. Instead, he had been sent by some hidden power to observe the old Salt Road and the living military command. Lin Yao put away the stone token.
No rush to contact him.
Shen Luo asked, "You do not want to know who he is?"
Lin Yao said, "I do. But if we crush it now, we are telling him we obtained Rat's line."
"Investigate first."
Su Qingli said, "I can have the Su family investigate the origin of the life-concealing pattern."
"Cost?" Su Qingli glanced at him. "This time, no cost."
Lin Yao was somewhat surprised. Su Qingli said calmly, "If hidden families are beginning to intervene in living military command, then this is no longer only Obsidian Village's matter.
The Su family also needs to know." Lin Yao nodded. "All right." The L-series roster was not yet complete. Luo Wen's was still underground. The second research group's reality-side counteraction had already begun. And now, Song Yuan's hidden family line had surfaced too.
The old Salt Road relay station was more complicated than the defeated army pit. But Lin Yao knew that the more complicated it was, the more clearly it needed to be recorded. Because what the Black Tide loved most was mixing all responsibility, identity, transactions, and factions together. Mixed until, in the end, no one knew who was a victim, who was a perpetrator, who was a bystander, and who was the hand pushing from behind. What Obsidian Village had to do was separate this chaos.
One account at a time. One name at a time. The small gray stone token left by Song Yuan was placed on the ceiling table of the Black Tide Purification Office. It was not large. Only 2 fingers wide. On the surface, it looked like an ordinary message stone. But after Su Qingli illuminated it with talisman paper, a ring of extremely fine pale silver lines appeared around the edge of the stone token. That was the life-concealing pattern.
The lines were like mist. Visible, but difficult to grasp.
Su Qingli's expression was very serious. This is not a rogue cultivator's method. Nor is it an ordinary player item.
To make a one-use message stone with life-concealing patterns, it must at least be a family with inheritance.
Lin Yao asked, "Can you identify which family?" Su Qingli shook her head. "Not yet.
But I can confirm it is not the Su family." Shen Luo said beside her, "It does not look like the Shen family either."
Su Qingli glanced at him. The Shen family has wealth-concealing patterns, not life-concealing patterns. Shen Luo smiled. "You know quite a lot.
Your Shen family loves leaving account traces on things too much."
"Same to you."
Your Su family wants to leave sacrificial patterns on everything."
Lin Yao ignored their exchange. He looked at the stone token. Why had Song Yuan sought out Rat?
He had asked about the third-level entrance.
Luo Wen's.
Sacrificial stone fragments. Living military command. He had known these 3 key terms long ago.
That meant the force behind Song Yuan might possess no less intelligence than the second research group.
Perhaps they had noticed the old Salt Road relay station even earlier than the Shen family.
Uncle Zhou asked, "Should we enter this into the responsibility register?"
Lin Yao thought for a moment.
Not the responsibility register yet. Put it in an observation account. The responsibility register was used to record confirmed responsibility.
Song Yuan was currently only a third-party contact. There was no evidence showing he had participated in contamination or experiments.
If they rashly recorded responsibility, it might cause a wrong ruling. Uncle Zhou immediately opened a new page. Third-party observation account. Target, Song Yuan. Clue, provided by Rat.
Suspected of actively inquiring about the old Salt Road third-level entrance, Luo Wen's, sacrificial stone fragments, and living military command. Physical evidence, gray one-use message stone with life-concealing pattern.
Preliminary judgment, may be connected to a hidden family or third-party force. Status, responsibility undecided. Continuing observation. After this page was written, the stone token did not react. This proved that the current record did not count as an attack. Only observation. Suchingli reminded him, if I am to investigate the life-concealing pattern, I need to take a rubbing of the lines back to the Su family. Lin Yao said, you may. But the original stone token stays in Obsidian Village. Of course. Suchingli took out a sheet of extremely thin white paper and covered the stone token with it. She tapped it lightly with her fingertip, and the pale silver lines were rubbed onto the paper. After the rubbing was complete, her face became slightly pale. There is counter-tracing. Lin Yao's eyes sharpened. Will the other side know? They will not know the specific location, Suchingli said. But they will know someone has rubbed the pattern. In other words, the people behind Song Yuan might soon realize that the stone token had fallen into the hands of someone capable of analyzing life-concealing patterns. This would bring new contact. But they had to investigate. Lin Yao nodded. Proceed. After dealing with the third-party stone token, Lin Yao returned to isolation shed number 2. The 5 marked people were undergoing contract withdrawal stabilization training. This was a new process designed by Feng Jiyan and Zhou together. First step, report name. Second step, report opening. Third step, report withdrawal. Fourth step, report what they wanted to do next. The fourth step had been added by Zhou. He said that if a person only knew what they had withdrawn, but did not know what they would stay to do next, they could easily be hooked away again by a new agreement. Lin Yao agreed strongly. Withdrawal was not the end. After withdrawal, there had to be a next direction they could walk toward. A Luo trained first. My name is Luo Xiang, alias A Luo. My opening is that I wanted to join a major guild. I wanted to be seen. When he said this, he was somewhat embarrassed. Zhao Tai, standing beside him, could not help saying, wanting to be seen is nothing shameful. A Luo glanced at him. You don't understand. Zhao Tai grinned. How do I not understand? I used to want Instructor Gao to see that I could fight. Gao Mu happened to walk past and coldly glanced at him. Zhao Tai immediately stood straight and stopped talking. The previously heavy atmosphere loosened slightly. A Luo took a deep breath and continued. I withdraw the consent given under the hidden recall clause. My next step. He paused for a long time. I want to find a normal team. Lin Yao spoke. You can first do peripheral assistance in Obsidian Village. A Luo raised his head. Me? You know how independent players think. You also know how recruitment lines deceive people. If you are willing, you can help identify recruitment traps. A Luo froze for a long time. He had thought he was only someone who had been rescued and was waiting to be judged. He had not expected Lin Yao to give him a position. Not formal entry into the village. But at least not useless. I can try. The contract withdrawal register lit up. Luo Xiang, peripheral assistance direction, recruitment trap identification. Gao Jun was second. My name is Gao Jun. My opening is owing equipment loans. I withdraw the hidden recall clause. Next. I want to first investigate that loan clearly. Shen Luo said from the side, that belongs to me. Gao Jun nodded. If it really was just me borrowing recklessly, I will admit it. If someone set a trap, I want to know. The contract withdrawal register lit up. Gao Jun, follow-up direction, determine equipment loan responsibility. Du Li was third. Her voice was small, but steady. My name is Du Li. My opening is looking for my brother, Du Hong. I withdraw the hidden recall clause. Next, I want to organize the clues about my brother. Uncle Zhou had already opened a page of missing person records for her. Du Heng's name was written on it. When Du Li saw that page, her gaze steadied greatly. Ma Liang and Huang Qi also completed their own reports. Ma Liang was willing to help organize abnormal routes in escort missions. Huang Qi had to face his gambling debt problem. He was the least stable. But at least he admitted he had avoided responsibility. The Contract Withdrawal Register did not wash him clean. It only pulled him out from the recall label of gambling debt collateral body. After the training ended, Fang Jian sat outside the shed, his voice already so hoarse he could barely speak. Lin Yao walked to his side. That is enough for today. Fang Jian nodded. I used to speak, not like this. Like what? Before, I was very afraid of saying the wrong thing. He looked into the shed. Now I am even more afraid. But it seems I can only speak. Lin Yao said, you can take it slowly. Fang Jian shook his head. Luo Wentz will not take it slowly. That sentence made Lin Yao fall silent. Fang Jian was right. Obsidian Village's system was slow. But the enemy was fast. That was the pressure that had always existed. At night, Su Qingli brought back a preliminary judgment on the life-concealing pattern. Her expression was even more solemn than during the day. It is not an ordinary family. Lin Yao asked, which one? Su Qingli did not answer immediately. Instead, she first placed a soundproofing talisman. It may be the Song family. Shen Luo frowned. Which Song family? Su Qingli said, the hidden Song family of the Central Plains. They are known for fate patterns, contracts, and causal concealment. They rarely intervene directly in visible factions. But if Song Yuan is truly one of the Song family, then his inquiry into the Old Salt Road's third level is absolutely not accidental. Lin Yao looked at the third-party observation account. Song Yuan. The hidden Song family of the Central Plains. Fate patterns, contracts, causal concealment. This was an entirely different system from Luo Wentz, the second research group, and the Shin family's black accounts. Lin Yao asked, what does the Song family want? Su Qingli was silent for a moment. If it is them, I do not think they want the living military command. They want to see who can establish new causal dominance between the living military command, the Contract Withdrawal Register, and the War Soul Altar. Zhao Tai's head hurt just hearing it. Say it like a person. Su Qingli glanced at him. In plain words, they want to know who can set the rules in the future synchronization disaster. The room quieted. That sentence was very heavy. The second research group wanted to study. Luo Wentz wanted evolution. The Shin family wanted to control materials and transactions. The Song family wanted to see who could set the rules. And Obsidian Village, without realizing it, was becoming a new source of rules. Name registers. Responsibility registers. The Contract Withdrawal Register. The 3 War Soul Rolls. These were not ordinary game mechanics. They were beginning to become a new order in the synchronized world. Lin Yao looked at the gray stone token on the table and suddenly said, do not contact Song Yuan first. Wait for him to come to us. Shen Luo asked, will he come? Lin Yao said, he will. If the Song family really wants to know who can set the rules, then once the Contract Withdrawal Register is established, he will not be able to sit still. As soon as he finished speaking, the gray stone token on the ceiling table suddenly lit faintly. A gentle male voice came from within the stone token. Lord Lin Yao of Obsidian Village. Song Yuan requests an audience. Everyone fell silent at the same time. Lin Yao looked at the stone token, his gaze sinking. The third party had finally knocked on the door.